Long touted as a nation that welcomes immigration and is ripe with opportunity, Canada may now have an issue retaining recent arrivals.
New research shows more immigrants are leaving Canada.
Canada is facing a critical immigration crisis. More immigrants are choosing to leave the country, according to a new report by the Institute for Canadian Citizenship.
The Canadian dream isn't the utopia you envisioned. Beneath the glossy surface of this great white north lies a sinister truth that could shatter your hopes and dreams. In recent years, Canada has become one of the top destinations for millions of immigrants worldwide who flock to its shores each year in search of a brighter future, or the so-called Canadian dream.
Onward migration, that's immigrants who come and then leave, has been creeping up silently for decades, and it's gone pretty unnoticed.
This dream is swiftly morphing into a nightmare, the Canadian nightmare, which has seen 17.5% of immigrants admitted into the country leave within 20 years of arrival, and 5.1% emigrate after just 5 years of staying in the country. Onward migration reached levels 31% higher than the historical average, a trend indicative of a growing number of immigrants continuously seeking greener pastures elsewhere. In 2022 and 2023, Canada welcomed more than 1 million temporary and permanent immigrants, budging the national population to over 40 million last June. The country's population grew by more than 430,000 during the third quarter of 2023, making the fastest pace of population growth in any quarter since 1957. But to what effects? Various sectors of the nation's economy, especially the housing market, are starting to skate on such thin ice, and citizens are already feeling the heat. In a recent poll, 3 in 4 Canadians say higher immigration is worsening the looming housing crisis at an average of 424 units available per 1,000 people, thereby affecting the quality of life in the various provinces. The question remains: what exactly is casting a shroud over Canada's appeal as one of the favored destinations for newcomers? And what dark, jarring secrets lie beneath the facade, spurring the tremendous decline in the allure of immigration to the Great White North? In this video, we will delve into the unsettling realities that have tarnished Canada's once glistening reputation, shining a light on the harsh realities immigrants face when they arrive on Canadian soil. Long touted as a nation that welcomes immigration and is ripe with opportunity, Canada may now have an issue retaining current arrivals as more and more immigrants are considering packing it up and moving on. For a nation built on immigrants, a rising trend of people leaving Canada risks undermining Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's idea of making immigration his primary weapon to blunt Canada's big challenge of aging and slowing population. Immigration in the country has been a hot-button issue, with polarized rhetoric such as locals calling immigrants job stealers, straining the social systems. It's no wonder that millions of local Canadians, a significant 39%, would like to see fewer immigrants in Canada. According to Statistics Canada, the cost of living in major Canadian cities has skyrocketed in recent years. Housing prices have reached unprecedented levels, with cities like Toronto and Vancouver ranking among the least affordable in the world. In fact, the average price of a detached home in Toronto is now over 1 million Canadian dollars, putting home ownership out of reach for many immigrants. Some say it is easy to make Canada home, but what is a home without an affordable place to live? Some say it is easy to make Canada home, but what is a home without an affordable place to live? In cities like Toronto, maintaining a comfortable standard of living requires an hourly wage of up to 40 Canadian dollars for a 2-bedroom apartment, or 32 Canadian dollars for a 1-bedroom dwelling. However, reality paints a starkly different picture, with the current minimum wage stagnant at $16.65 as of March 2024. Many workers find themselves grappling with the harsh reality of unattainable housing costs. International students, a significant part of the immigration pool, are only allowed to work low-pay part-time jobs and are forced to cough up abysmally high rent. The average cost of a studio apartment in the country was around 1,500 Canadian dollars a month pre-pandemic, but currently around 2,000 Canadian dollars. Similarly, a 1-bedroom apartment is presently set at 2,500 Canadian dollars, further exacerbating the financial strain on individuals and families. This ridiculous amount means you'll earn around $80,000 a year to live comfortably. Aggravating the situation further, in Ontario, the tax rate stands at a staggering 29%, while in British Columbia, it's not far behind at 27.9%. That automatically truncates your earnings to around 57,000 Canadian dollars. In most cases, people need 2 to 3 jobs to afford housing, rent, or finance their lifestyle. And it's not just housing that's expensive. The cost of everyday essentials like groceries, transportation, and healthcare is also on the rise, making it difficult for newcomers to make ends meet. A recent study found that the average immigrant household in Canada spends over 40% of its income on necessities, leaving little room for savings or investment in the future. The glaring truth is that pursuing a new life in Canada may lead you down a path darker than you ever imagined. From exorbitant living costs to a maze of bureaucratic immigration hurdles, the Canadian dream may not be the bliss it's often portrayed to be, but rather a harsh reality check for those who dare to pursue it. Over the years, newcomers have been lured by the promise of a more streamlined immigration policy and have been fooled by the prospect of a better life. Now they want to move out. To navigate the labyrinth of Canada's immigration system, you're either met with endless red tape or bureaucratic roadblocks that have threatened to derail millions of hopes and aspirations. Months turn into years as you wait for your application to be processed, all the while grappling with feelings of isolation and despair. And even if applicants manage to secure permanent residency or citizenship, they often face challenges integrating into Canadian society and finding their place in the community. There are also concerns around how quickly and seamlessly immigrants can integrate into the ever-sophisticated Canadian labor market and society. Despite high education levels for many newcomers, issues like non-recognition of foreign credentials and lack of Canadian experience can lead to underemployment and skills gaps relative to available jobs. This perceived brain waste is an inefficient use of human capital prevalent in the economy, making it difficult for most newcomers to transfer their foreign experience. These forms of social cohesion, such as learning English, French, or adopting Canadian values, also come at a cost. These costs are usually allocated to immigrant settlement services, language training, credential recognition, and other societal investments needed for successful integration. As a result, many immigrants find themselves isolated and marginalized, unable to fully participate in Canadian society or realize their full potential. While some may eventually overcome these obstacles and succeed in their new home, others are left disillusioned and disheartened by their experience. Now let's confront the cold, hard truth no one is talking about: poor healthcare. You would assume the country's healthcare is in a paradigm, but that's far from the truth. The healthcare system has yet to recover from the seismic shift caused by the pandemic, with persistent demand for healthcare workers and practitioners echoing throughout the nation. Even for Canadian citizens who have called the country home for decades, the prospect of securing a family doctor remains elusive. With waiting lists stretching for years, many individuals find themselves without the vital primary care they need. Even for Canadian citizens who have called the country home for decades, the prospect of securing a family doctor remains elusive. With waiting lists stretching for years, many individuals find themselves without the vital primary care they need. The situation is particularly dire in remote provinces like Prince Edward Island, with a staggering number of residents still waiting to be allocated a family doctor. The backlog persists, leaving many vulnerable individuals without access to essential healthcare services. Since the beginning of 2024, the smallest province in the country has been grappling with an alarming trend. The number of islanders without a family doctor has surged by nearly 1,000. What was once just over 36,000 individuals in need of primary care has now escalated to a staggering 36,970, painting a bleak picture of not just the healthcare landscape in the province, but the entire nation. Many individuals have turned to walk-in clinics for prompt healthcare solutions, often finding themselves amidst crowded waiting rooms as early as 5 a.m. However, these clinics are not renowned for offering exceptional services, primarily due to the transient nature of the doctors who frequently rotate between different clinics. Consequently, there's a lack of patient-doctor rapport and understanding, undermining the quality of care administered. Moreover, the wait times can be alarmingly long in cases requiring specialized attention from a specialist. Reports indicate wait times of up to a year or even 2 to secure an appointment with specialists such as dermatologists. This prolonged wait exacerbates patients' health concerns, leaving them in a state of limbo and uncertainty. Frustrated by the lengthy delays and inadequate access to specialized care, some Canadians seek medical attention abroad, traveling to countries like the United States or various Asian nations where healthcare services are more readily accessible. In terms of opportunities, there's a massive brain drain from Canada to other thriving economies like its neighbor to the south. In other words, you can get a 30% salary increase by moving to the States. Compared to the burgeoning cities and IT hubs of New York and San Francisco, Canadian cities pale in comparison when it comes to fostering startup ecosystems and nurturing the digital frontier. This is yet another unspoken paradox: the lack of sufficient infrastructure. In Vancouver, there are only 2 SkyTrain stations. This insinuates that a visit to the downtown area of the city or Richmond inadvertently becomes a cumbersome task. One is left with 2 choices: either rely on personal vehicles or succumb to the exorbitantly priced rides of Uber or taxis. This limitation not only inconveniences residents but also impacts visitors who seek to explore the diverse neighborhoods and attractions beyond the central hub. In stark contrast, cities like Tokyo and Taipei boast advanced infrastructures designed to facilitate seamless transportation. With extensive metro systems, efficient bus networks, and innovative urban planning, getting from point A to point B is a breeze in these metropolises. For Canada, the allure only looks better from the outside. Another grim and sensitive reality no one wants to shine a spotlight on is the looming specter of homelessness and the rampant drug crisis gripping the nation. The homelessness epidemic has reached alarming proportions, leaving countless individuals stranded and destitute, forced to endure the harsh realities of life on the streets. The streets are being transformed into a haunting tableau of despair, dotted with makeshift tents and makeshift shelters often referred to as Trudeau towns. Many refugees and asylum seekers who come to Canada in search of a better life fall victim to the homeless epidemic. With little money, resources, skills, and no plan to find shelter, these immigrants struggle to assimilate into Canadian society and wind up homeless. Oftentimes, their new life in Canada is worse than where they emigrated from.
This is hardly the life Salih Najib envisioned when he left Uganda.
Did you expect to be sleeping on the street when you came back?
No, I didn't expect that.
Najib is seeking asylum in Canada.
Owing to an increase in homelessness, an opioid crisis is taking over the country. As if torn from the pages of an apocalyptic novel, Canada faces a dire situation on the brink of catastrophe. The pervasive fentanyl crisis that has fueled a rise in opioid-related deaths has taken hold of the country, leaving devastation in its wake. In response, authorities are currently scrambling with residents about establishing injection sites in a desperate bid to stem the tide of addiction and prevent further loss of life. With a perceived reputation for multiculturalism, a strong economy, and a high standard of living, the once coveted Canadian dream has no doubt morphed into a Canadian nightmare. The strain on social systems like healthcare, housing, and public infrastructure in areas with high immigrant intake is being raised as a concern, especially for smaller communities like the Maritime Province. Absorbing such large population influxes relative to their size poses significant challenges to local resources and services, thereby dithering the quality of life for citizens and immigrants alike. Behind the glamorous facade it portrays, Canada presents a harsh reality. For some newcomers, this reality could be as simple as the country's weather, with temperatures in some cities like Calgary dipping to a bone-chilling -30 degrees Celsius. Residents find themselves battling the elements, from shoveling snow for months on end to braving icy winds that cut through even the thickest of coats. As the challenges mount and the barriers to success grow higher, more immigrants are beginning to question their decision to make Canada their home. They find themselves trapped in a cycle of unfulfilled promises and shattered dreams, wondering if they've made a grave mistake in uprooting their lives for a chance at a better future. If you like this video, hit the like button to help spread the word, and remember to subscribe to get notifications on our latest news and analysis. In the meantime, check out one of these videos here to learn more. Thanks for watching.